preparing. I will put it in the chat.
Look at that, live on YouTube. Okay, let's wait for a couple of people to join in, hopefully.
Awesome. It's gonna be great.
I'm on YouTube.
Oh.
Let's wait for a couple of people to join in, hopefully. Are we gonna have, so who's, is that my feedback?
Pardon?
Mute YouTube if you have it open.
Wait, I need to have mine open?
If you have YouTube open, just mute it so you don't get feedback.
Oh, shoot. Okay, no, I don't. I'm gonna close that. There we go. So should we wait a couple more minutes to get some viewers, or what's the plan here, Mr. President?
Yeah, let's give a couple minutes.
Perfect.
Get started.
I actually just got a message now from a student. Another question, so I'll be sure to add that in.
Okay, so I think we're good to get going, Alexa, if you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so welcome everybody if you're watching on the live stream or you're watching this after it's been uploaded. What we're introducing here at BUSU is a new series called COVID Conversations with BUSU. And the whole idea of this is there's a lot of questions right now and in the student body and there's a lot of things happening in the community right now. And I think it's important, and we as a student union think it's important to kind of connect and have conversations about what's going on, whether that's, you know, events in the public or things at Brock. I mean, with fall 2020 being online, there are definitely a lot of things that are that we need answers to. And so hopefully this series helps students kind of figure out some of the answers to those questions. And it's our first time, so hopefully we do okay. Alexa, are you ready to rock and roll?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm just going to quickly go through the agenda for today. Thank you, Assad, for that introduction. If you didn't mention before, Assad is our president, Mr. President for our BUSU Students Union. And my name is Alexa Leach, and I am your Vice President of External Affairs. So I'm just going to run you through our agenda for today. So right off the bat, we're going to be discussing the Black Lives Matter movement and what Brock and specifically what BUSU is doing in order to support that. Moving on, we're going to be discussing Pride because, of course, June is Pride Month, and we want to make sure that all of our students who are members of the LGBTQ+ community or allies know that we are recognizing them and we are still celebrating even if we are in isolation. Then we're going to go through a bit of an update from Brock and just give a recap from their communication plans and what they've been sending out. Further, we're going to be discussing the graduation update for the class of 2020. I know so many graduates have been really anxiously awaiting answers because we are in such an unprecedented time, and they definitely, I can see how they've been waiting for so long to finally graduate after all their years of hard work. Moving on, I'm going to be doing a bit of a government update, just really briefly on what's going on right now this week within Doug Ford and the provincial government, and then just answering some commonly asked questions for CESB and CERB. So just moving on with that. And then finally, we're going to be wrapping up with some Q&As from the submissions that you so graciously gave us prior, and as well answering the Q&As from the comments that are coming in as we are streaming. So that's kind of our plan for the next hour or so. Yeah, thank you guys for joining us or welcoming you or joining us, sorry, even if it's not live on our COVID site and watching after. And I'm really hoping that we can answer the questions that you so desperately are needing from us right now.
Awesome. So let's get rolling. And if, like Alexa said, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments and we'll spend some time at the end of this call to address them. First topic is Black Lives Matter. And this is incredibly important that we address this as a student union because we recognize that we have a platform and our mission is always to enhance the student experience. And right now, this is something that's very important to our students. We have released a statement so far, and also I'll recite a bit of that right now. So as your student union, we represent all of you and have the responsibility of ensuring that you feel comfortable, safe, and welcome on campus, even in this virtual setting. We denounce racism and acts of violence towards any individual, group, or community. As we see events surrounding the deaths of Regis Korkinski-Paquette, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and so many more, we want you to know that we stand against all forms of oppression. Brock has resources available if you need additional support during this time. And feel free to access them through the links in our Instagram bio or reach out to us personally. We hear you, we stand in solidarity with you, and we support you. So please reach out to us if there are any additional supports you would like to see offered. Now, a statement is actually just the beginning of the conversation. It does not end here. And Alexa will talk a bit about what we're hoping to do, but we want to recognize that this is just the start. Our role absolutely does not end with this statement.
Absolutely. And Assad, you mentioned it before, we do have this platform and we do represent students and we acknowledge the importance of Black Lives Matter and the movement that's been going on for generations, but specifically how it's been ignited recently. And absolutely, we want to show our support and solidarity. And yes, releasing a statement is, the first step in that, but I'm assuming people are wondering, what are our actions moving forward? And I'm so happy to announce that actually right after this, later this afternoon, the rest of the executives and our general manager, we're sitting down and we're having a meeting specifically on Black Lives Matter. We're going to be discussing our actions moving forward, donations that we can provide to local resources within the Niagara community or external to support people and to support Black lives and showing that we do care and we are here to support you. And we're putting basically our money where our mouth is and our actions through our statement. So I just wanted to quickly add another point on top of what Assad so eloquently said. So a couple people have been wondering, and even me myself, how can we be an ally to the Black community during these times? And I know Assad and I have done our own research, and we both acknowledge that we will never understand what it is like to be a Black person and face the levels of oppression that they have faced throughout generations and how it's been so entrenched historically in this world. But let's, how to be an ally. And the first step is seeking that education, looking at resources that speak from a Black person's perspective, because unfortunately, so much of our history was written with a Eurocentric view, and it doesn't tell the stories and the perspectives of Black individuals and their experiences. So we really want to educate ourselves, and we encourage you to educate yourself as well throughout this process. As well, the next one is understanding, acknowledging, and utilizing your privilege. So I know myself, I acknowledge and I understand that I do hold this white privilege, and I'm learning how I can use that. And I know Assad, he's also been doing his own research on that as well, and how to use your privilege to speak up and stand up and be in solidarity. And that kind of goes on to the third point, which is standing up. And that just doesn't have to be, you know, through an Instagram post or going to a protest or whatever you feel comfortable with. I actually was watching a video the other day, and the lady, she was a Black influencer, and she just worded it so gracefully. And she said, you know, you don't have to be this huge influencer to make an impact or to speak up. It can be something as simple as you're at brunch with your friends and say there isn't one of your Black friends or anybody Black there in that, and you hear one of your friends or someone in attendance make a racial slur or say something that you know is racist or incorrect for them to be saying. Right there, that's when you can stand up. It can be just a group of 6 people and you say, hey, listen, you know what? That's not right. I don't commend those actions, and use your voice then. And finally, provide support to your Black friends. You know, obviously we're in this time of so much uncertainty and everything that's going on in the world. They need your support more than ever, and helping them and reaching out to them and doing what you can as an ally and showing that you're an ally to them and just being supportive. So those are just a couple tips. But again, just remember that you can be an ally to the Black community and how important it is to Brock and Busu to be in solidarity during these times.
Absolutely. Well said, Alexa.
Thank you.
It's important to recognize that this is just a start, and these conversations, we hope and will work towards not having them slow down anytime soon. Next up, we're going to be talking a bit about Pride Month, because it is Pride Month. And so, Alexa, I'll actually throw that over to you too.
Absolutely. So before I begin, I actually want to reach out and give a big shout out to our Vice President of Student Services, Radia. She was so great in partnering with our Human Rights and Equity and Student Justice Center here on campus. And so I just wanted to, you know, give credit where credit is due so that we're able to give you this information. But starting out, specifically with Pride Month, I mean, happy Pride Month, as I mentioned before, but we really want to make sure that queer, trans, non-binary people, they're especially vulnerable during quarantine. And it's more important than ever to really reflect on the systemic barriers that still exist while celebrating the strength and beauty of the LGBTQ plus community. And as well, when receiving notes from our partners at HRE and SJC, they noted that, and we really wanted to highlight this, that we have to ensure that we honor and acknowledge the political roots of Pride and actually how they trace back to Black Lives Matter. And so, and we wouldn't feel comfortable if we didn't discuss the intersectionality between the two. So in discussing these political roots, so actually the fact is that queer and trans folk, they only have Pride because of the work of primarily Black trans activists who mobilizes change through riots and resistance. Again, so members of the two-spirit LGBTQ plus community, they have these rights due to the labor of Black, queer, and trans folk. And the catalyst really of that was the Stonewall Uprising and all subsequent resistant efforts after that. So we really want to keep in mind as well that this is a very intersectional topic, and anything related to Pride, you know, is acting in solidarity with Black activists who are, again, fighting for those basic human rights that everybody deserves.
Absolutely. Now, typically, as far as what happens on campus, we usually celebrate Pride Month in January, because typically Pride Month is in the spring and summer, and not a lot of students are on campus anyways. So we're still hoping, if campus is back in January in the winter term, that we'll be back to those celebrations in person. For now, what you'll see right now, especially with Pride Toronto, they're hosting a virtual Pride for the entire month. With weekly events, they have a virtual parade happening, and they have a virtual Pride Festival weekend as well. So you should definitely check those out. You also see some things from Busu in that, of course, we have some events and engaging opportunities that'll be circled around Pride Month as well. So again, if you asked a question, it's perfect. We see your question, and we're going to spend some time at the end to answer all of those. So thank you so much for the questions. Keep them coming.
Absolutely. And just wanted to add one final point on Pride. When, again, discussing and speaking with our partners at HRE and SJC, they said, doing some quieter work. And I don't think that this is quiet work in any means, but, and it definitely needs to be recognized and addressed and shared with the community. But the SJC will actually be launching free chest binders and breast forms program for trans and gender diverse students this month as well. Furthermore, they're going to be doing some two-spirited and LGBTQ+ resource training for various staff groups at Brock, and of course, posting all that related content on the SJC social media. So make sure to give them a follow so you can really, again, follow along with everything and the great things that they are providing during this Pride Month.
Awesome. Okay. Next up, we're going to talk a bit about fall 2020. So Brock University released a massive announcement on May 28th about what the fall will look like. And we wanted to break that down a bit to you in simpler pieces. So let's get started on that. So fall 2020 is actually going to be pretty much all online. If you're an undergraduate student, you can very much expect it, your classes and your lectures and your seminars to be online. If you're a graduate student, there are some graduate courses that will be on campus simply because they need to be able to access labs and equipment that can't be transferred into a virtual setting. So if you're an undergraduate student, expect your class to be online. That's the information we have right now. And of course, with this topic, things change week by week. So we got to keep that in mind too. Another big thing is returning to normal. Right, and return to normal is actually not as much of a Brock University decision as it is a province of Ontario and Niagara Public Health decision. So we have conversations with Brock University senior administration weekly and bi-weekly, and really the message there is we have to wait for the Ontario province to release more information and direction. Right. So what's happening on the province end is they're following a 3-stage plan right now. And returns will be staged appropriately and done gradually over time. So we've seen things like golf courses open, some construction projects are open. And so slowly the university is opening, the province is opening back up, and the university will kind of follow that pace. If you're interested in seeing what's happening with the university, it's a good idea to keep an eye out on what's happening with Ontario.
Absolutely. And it's just really key to note, because we do understand that this isn't necessarily the ideal situation for everybody. And, maybe not the year specifically first year students had in mind, but we want to note that it's key that this is all being done for your health and your safety and your overall well-being and protection, and beyond yourself, your families and community members. Again, we're taking COVID very seriously, and we are following the directions of the province. And, hopefully we can return to the new normal shortly, but in the meantime, we will be following the provincial government's mandates. So moving on from that, another bit of an update from Brock is we really wanted to, as Busu and the university, we really care about students' mental health. And specifically during a time of isolation and quarantine, we can understand how the struggles of mental health can heighten, and it certainly is an issue. And we really want to make sure that you have the resources available in order to have the proper treatment and get through these difficult times. So while face-to-face counseling is currently not available, they actually still are doing same-day drop-in counseling. And so you can just email counseling@BrockU to be contacted via Microsoft Teams, and you'll be given an appointment time and a counselor's name. There's also 24-hour 7 days a week personal counseling via phone, and all of this information will be on the Brock website. And then as well, if you can fit it into the quote unquote work day or school day schedule from Mondays to Fridays from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., students can access student health services via their phone or their email, and just providing a message and a contact number and how to reach them. And they're really great in getting back. Assad and I specifically sit on the mental health committee, and we've had discussions, and you know, they really are working so diligently to ensuring that students are being taken care of and their mental health is being covered during this time. So again, for more information and the specific contact information for that, if you go to the Brock website and the health services, it's all there for you as well.
Awesome. Next up, let's talk a bit about OSAP. So OSAP, starting immediately, you can apply to the OSAP program for the 2020-2021 school year. And the government has also announced a 6-month deferral of loan payments and interest through September 30th. So if you were in repayment before COVID, you actually have a bit of a break and until September 30th. As well, you can apply if you need to. Applications are open.
Awesome.
So if you have any questions about that, drop them in the comments and we'll get to them. Next, let's talk a bit about graduation. So graduation, Alexa, why don't you tell us a bit about the virtual portal?
Absolutely. So we just wanted to start off by saying, you know, we understand this is not the ideal situation for the class of 20. Assad himself actually is a graduate this year, so congrats to him and to, I believe, over the 3,000 other graduates at Brock. I know this has not been the graduation that you've been dreaming about, but we are still putting things in measure. So just to note, there still will be an in-person convocation. And I know Assad will talk a bit more about that after, but we, for right now, I just want to discuss this virtual portal, which is the virtual convocation. So that will be launching on Friday, June 19th. And so rather than just a one-day celebration, virtual convocation will be a web-based portal where each of the universities, again, like I mentioned, more than 3,000 graduates will get a tailored experience based on their faculty and whether they're an undergraduate or a graduate student. And we just wanted to add, this is something additional that the university is doing. They decided, they chose to do this. They didn't need to do this, but they felt as though it needed to be done to recognize the students and the successes and all the hard work and efforts that they've put in. So thank you to them for that, and really hoping that you can all, you know, take part a bit in that virtual celebration. And I'm going to toss back over to Assad, and you're going to be discussing something about the grad packages.
Yeah, so with the virtual portal, it's going to be really exciting. Again, as Alexa said, this is additional. So we are going to have an in-person ceremony. Brock has committed to having an in-person ceremony when it's safe to do so. And I actually want to just recognize, if, you know, maybe they watch this, but Geraldine Jones, Jody Fitzgerald, Diana Houston, and Dan Dakin, and the incredible team working on the virtual portal project for taking this on for students. I mean, graduation is an incredibly important piece of coming to university, you know, aside from OWEEK. But the fact that they care this much about this and are putting in all the effort to make it special for 3,000, you know, all of our graduates is incredible. So thank you on behalf of the Student Union to the university as well. So in the meantime, in the short run, we actually have something called a grad package. And so all graduating students are going to be mailed a package that includes their degree parchment, a convocation program, an alumni pin, and other information about the Alumni Association. There is also going to be a bag of confetti, so you can kind of finish off your Brock career the way you started it with a bag of confetti. I still remember opening mine up in it was in the kitchen, and my family was around me around the dining table, and we opened up the bag and we sprayed it around. It was a lot of fun.
I think I still have mine saved, actually. I saved mine from, 2016, and I saved mine so I could keep it for graduation, but I guess the class this year is lucky and they're going to be getting more of it, so that's awesome.
Yeah, there you go. See, it seems like a lot of people actually save it. I didn't get the memo, but
Hey, you were too happy in the moment. You just had to celebrate, of course, right? Getting into that Goodman School of Business.
There you go. But yeah, so there will be this grad package. Now, on that note, if you need your grad package, you need to go and check your email because you have to opt in for the package. Okay, so to our understanding, you have to opt into the package through using your my.brocu.ca portal. So check your email. You should have an email about that. If you haven't already, make sure you do.
Awesome. So that's a bit of an update for grad, and I know there's been additional questions asked, and we're going to be answering those later on in this video. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten about you. We will come back to those. So next, I'm going to be giving a bit of a government update overall, specifically on COVID, and then I'm going to be branching into CESB and CERB. So a bit of a recent, actually weekly update from the provincial Ford government. So as some of you may be aware, the state of emergency originally was supposed to end June 9th, and that has actually been extended for another 4 weeks. So that does mean that there still is a ban of social gatherings for over 5 people who are not from the same household. We get that it's summer and it's gorgeous outside and you want to see your friends and family and whatnot, but again, make sure and ensure that you follow these guidelines to ensure safety and protecting not only yourself, but people across the province and especially our most vulnerable. As well, a bit of a note for northern and rural students. So the Premier Ford said he's going to be investing $150 million to expanding broadband internet and cell service. So he stated that, reliable high-speed internet, it's no longer a luxury. And I think we really, in this time, we understand it's a necessity with online learning and that's how we communicate now. So that's really great to see that that's going to be invested. And then just lastly, finishing up, if any students or anyone watching currently has prescriptions that they fill on a regular basis, at the beginning of COVID, the province implemented a 30-day limit on prescriptions just to ensure that there wouldn't be a shortage, but that is actually going to be lifted and it is going to be going back to the regular 90-day maximum, and we should expect to see that in July. So moving on, I know that we have had a lot of questions about CERB and CESB, so I'll just briefly touch on that because I could probably talk for days about that, but I don't want to bore you. But basically just share the differences between them. So CESB is the Canadian Emergency Student Benefit. And so it's for students that don't qualify for CERB and require these funds during the pandemic. So it's a 4-week period, and there's 4 of them, and students are granted $1,250 for the period, or $2,000 if they have a dependent or a disability. And for eligibility, you need to be either a Canadian citizen, registered under the Indian Act, a permanent resident, or a protected person. Additionally, meeting one of the 3 following, so unable to work during COVID, are unable to find work due to it, or working but earning less than $1,000. So something I really want to mention, and this also applies to CERB as well. I've had so many people ask me, they said, well, I can't qualify for CERB because I'm getting scholarships and I'm getting grants from the government. That doesn't count as income. So I know I had a friend and I was on the phone with her the other night and she goes, yeah, no, I haven't been collecting my CERB or my CESB because I'm getting grants right now. And I said, that's not included within the $1,000. And so many people are unaware of that. And so know that you are entitled for that. I do want to point out that while you don't have to owe this money back, Trudeau won't say, oh, you owe us back that $1,250, that $2,000. It is taxable. So you will see that in your tax returns for the following year. But we just wanted to note that as well. But just overall, we will be launching a site with all the information for CESB and for CERB. It has lots of detailed questions and answers further on with that, and that'll be launching next week. So that is something great in regards to that. And I'm hoping that you are collecting CERB. And CERB is, again, if you made over $5,000 in the past year, You can get up to $2,000 per 4-week period, whereas CESB is for students and if they don't qualify for CERB. So again, those are the difference between the two there. And again, I don't want to bore you guys out with anything, but there is more information on Brock's website, and that will be coming, which we'll be discussing later on as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Alexa. And Alexa is our resident expert on, government relations, especially the role as external affairs. And so if you have any questions for her, please reach out to her. She's very good with answering quickly and getting answers to students. So know that you have an awesome VP EA.
Thank you for that. And just to know, if you do need to reach out to me, you can contact me via my email, which is vpea@brockbusu.ca, or you can even reach out to me on social media. My Instagram is @AlexaLeach, and I'm very, I'll answer DMs, and that's often how I do a lot of that as well. So awesome. So we're going to be moving on to some of our Q&As from the submissions. So Assad, if you want to start us off with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have any questions about anything we've spoken about so far, please let us know, and we'll answer them. And you can let us know by dropping a comment, however you're watching. So we did have some questions that were sent in advance, and so let's get rolling on those. So first up, we have one about student ancillary fees in the spring and summer. So there was a question about, hey, were the fees reduced in the spring and summer? Because, we are online. And we're happy to say that, Brock University did reduce a few of their fees, primarily the ones that that go towards funding things that need students' physical presence. So a lot of stuff on campus can actually be done virtually. For example, mental health support, we can take that online. What we can't take online is the pool. What we can't take online is the Zone Fitness Center. And so Brock University has taken steps already to make sure that you're not paying for something that you can't get value out of. So for example, the Brock Athletics pool fee is not being charged in the spring, summer. The Brock Recreation Services Facilities fee is not being charged in the spring, summer. They're either not charged or they're reduced quite a bit. As well as the Brock Student Life fee on the recreation side and the Brock Zone Fitness Center fee. So Brock has been able to reduce or waive a lot of those fees that require in-person items.
Awesome. And I just wanted to say thank you to Assad. He's been working so diligently with so many of our senior administration in getting this information and really being the voice for students, and setting up calls, and as well with our Director of Marketing, Jordan, about this communication plan and also about ancillary fees, and ensuring that, it is something that's important. And again, we're a students union, we're a non-for-profit. We don't want to be taking your money. We're here to serve you, So thank you again, Assad, for taking the lead on that and ensuring students the financial stability in that sense. So we received another question. One of them was, how will you guys run events and keep them inclusive come September? Especially because we are going to be online. So if you are not aware or just kind of tuning in now, but actually in March and April, it gave us a really great opportunity to begin to understand what works, what doesn't work. And we actually saw a huge increase in how many students came to our virtual events. So we hosted, I know our previous VPSS, Heidi Stricko, she hosted things like bingo, deal or no deal, I believe it was, and a student actually won $500. So, we are trying to keep that engagement up, and more events will be to come. As well, additionally, we are part of the Canadian Organization of Campus Activities, which many student unions are part of across the country. And so we're part of that and navigating this challenge together. And quite frankly, events online have shown to be more inclusive than in-person ones. So that's something that's really important to us, and you will definitely be seeing the launch of so many of those events coming shortly.
Awesome. Cool. So another question we had was around course selection and when all that opens up. Now, we would encourage you to check out brocku.ca/guides and timetables and dates. Just Google Brock University registration guides and timetables, because they have been able to update those for the next semester. And right now, the site says that registration will open on July 13th at 6 a.m. Now, of course, if you're an upper year student, you know that upper year students don't actually start registration at the same time as first years, and graduate students start at a different time too. So keep in mind that that date is not for everybody. So just check out Brock University's site, Google registration guides and timetables. You'll be able to find that. What we can also do is on our COVID site, on our Brock Busu site, we can have a link to the registration and timetables. If you go on that site, you can check it out there as well, where we'll also be putting a lot of the frequently asked questions so that you don't have to watch a long video. You can just go and get a snapshot of a lot of the big questions and their answers from there.
Awesome. And just kind of noting on that, Assad kind of briefly mentioned it, but I just wanted to clarify it for people who maybe didn't get it. The course selection actually goes by how many credits you have and how many you currently have, and that will determine your course selection date. So just to keep that in mind in, checking maybe your Brock portal or whatever it may be to understand and know what credits you have, so you know which registration date is applicable for you. So thank you, Assad, for going over that. And next one that we received are our exams and midterms going to be online. And basically, based on the announcements, you can expect for our exams and midterms to be online. Unfortunately, it's not like we can have thousands of students in the big gym as we normally would. So you should expect to see those online.
We also had a question about smaller lectures on campus and what those look like. And so if you weren't watching a little bit earlier, the smaller lectures that Brock is referring to that will be on campus and live are primarily the graduate student classes that have labs that can't be transferred into a virtual environment. So those, of course, have to be done in person, and those are the classes that are going to be on campus. So if you're an undergraduate without a lab that you need to be in physically, you can most likely expect your class to be online, even if it is a very small class.
I know for myself, I'm starting a course next week, and it's actually, we're doing all virtual labs for that as well. So they have been working, the university has been working diligently to have online learning and have it in a successful manner, and to really ensure that the delivery process of it will be at the same magnitude or similar to that of in person. So moving on, so we had a couple questions, as mentioned earlier, about the graduating class of 2020. And so for the graduating class, the student mentioned we had the option to receive our degrees in the mail. If we decide to attend the future in-person ceremony, are we able to claim our degree then, or must we claim them before? So your in-person ceremony is not dependent on you taking the mail option or not. Even if you take the mail option, you will still be able to attend the in-person ceremony.
Absolutely. And if you have questions about that, of course, you can reach out to us, but primarily Brock University oversees graduation and all the details for that. So as far as when the degrees will be mailed out to you, based on the announcement and what is on Brock University's site and our communications with them later this month, so in mid-late June, the degrees will be mailed out.
Awesome.
So we had another question in the YouTube comments, and thank you for asking this question, Keisha. So Keisha had a question about the incident regarding blackface that occurred a few years back, and how will the university and student union safeguard Black students in the future? So thank you for asking this question. Very important question to ask. And what's important to note here, before we even begin to explain, is we don't speak on behalf of the university. We can only speak on behalf of the student union, which is us students. Now, the student union, since that incident happened, we've taken a lot of steps already. Before the Black Lives Movement picked up in the past few weeks, we improved and enhanced the presence of our Social Justice Center, which addresses matters like this on an ongoing basis, so the conversation does not stop. So we have hired staff that run workshops and things like that to educate people on this item, and we'll be discussing on how we can get funding for that department further this year. So we also, HRE also increased the amount of resources that they provide. We got an incredible director, Leela Madhav Rao, and she's been leading the charge on addressing human resource inequity and these topics since she's been on campus. Since then, Brock University has also selected the only African-American president in the entire country, to my knowledge, definitely in Ontario. And he's been leading the charge on breaking down the barriers on that front as well. At Brock University, at Isaacs, for example, you cannot come in if you have a blackface costume. You cannot step into our facility if you have anything at all that is cultural appropriation, that could be deemed as cultural appropriation. So we've been implementing that for a little while, and we will continue to do so because for us, absolutely, it's unacceptable.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, so unfortunately, Assad and I, we weren't here or working for BUSU when the incident happened, but we have seen the news story from 2014, and the incident was absolutely unacceptable. I know we've discussed it as a team, and we're all absolutely appalled by the situation, and it fuels a fire in us how upsetting that is. But like I mentioned previously, we do have an internal meeting this afternoon to find out what happened in response to this incident on the BUSU side. I know Assad addressed some of the things we did moving forward with that, and what we can say, like with the training that we've had, the type of behavior, we know it's not acceptable by anybody within BUSU. It's something we take very seriously, and we do have mandated training that we have to take prior for anybody working, whether it's an executive, part-time staff, full-time staff. And so we just want to make sure that, that kind of behavior is not accepted by anyone within BUSU, and our team prioritizes acceptance and inclusivity.
Very well said, Alexa. So we have another question, and we did talk a bit about, quite a bit about Black Lives Matter and BUSU's stance on it and what we're doing at the start of this video, and you can actually go back and watch it at any time. So feel free to do that and see kind of what we're hoping to do. We have another question. As a student union, what advocacy initiatives are you taking to address Black student support, representation, and enrollment? Now, of course, we began to scrape the surface with a statement that we released condemning the actions and showing that we do not condone racism on campus. That is just a start. We're having discussions at the Brock University Student Union level between our executives and our staff as early as today.
4 p.m.
And we're going to have these conversations on what we can do as a student union, and what we can actually do, not just for the short term, but for the long term, to create change on our campus, because that's a real goal. We don't want this to be something that is temporary, and we're trying to navigate how we can make it strategic so that we can tackle this issue in the long run and make everlasting change. That said, we are going to be working towards doing something a bit more short term, but definitely something going forward. As far as student union, we have a strong history of multicultural executive, of course, and we support the Student Justice Center as well. And we're going to be looking at how to fund that Student Justice Center further this coming year so they can do the amazing work that they do without the constraints of finances, correct? Because right now they are underfunded. That is something we are definitely going to explore.
Absolutely. And just to add on that note, as the VP of External Affairs, I'm part of, BUSU is part of it, but I represent them on their steering committee of the Ontario Undergraduate Student Alliance. So we work collaboratively with 7 other universities across the province. And that has definitely been a huge topic of discussion as to, what initiatives and how we're going to advocate further with this. And so actually yesterday I set up a shared Google Docs with all the schools in it that are part of it, and so that they can keep everyone informed on what they're doing moving forward. And so definitely, we understand that this is a collaborative approach and that we need to be working together and advocating together to move this forward and to see change. And so definitely we are partnering with other universities as well, seeing what they're doing and taking advice from them, and really making sure that all areas are covered and that Black students are being advocated for.
All right. So we, let's see. So we actually were able to cover a lot of what we wanted to do. We have one more question. So when are you going to specifically institute mandatory training for leaders such as yourself about racial bias and anti-Black racism? So actually at BUSU, we've been doing this for multiple years. We go through training with HRE every single year, whether there's a movement or not, about racialization and about topics such as this. And of course, as a student union, we have very clear stances on a lot of this, and our executives, our staff go through training every single year on mental health, and supporting students with mental health. We do what we can quite a bit to invest in ourselves to make sure that we are the leaders that students need, and our training reflects that. I don't know if Alexa wants to add anything to that, but thank you for that question. It's a really good question.
No, you said that great and expressed it all very eloquently. So thank you, Assad, for taking the lead on answering that.
So now I think we're approaching the 2:50 mark. So what we'll do is, Alexa, I kind of just wanted to check in to see how you're doing and how you're coping with COVID-19. I know, so the executives were actually working from home full time. So we're still, having sometimes meetings on Zoom back and forth. But there's still quite a bit of work happening. For example, in our space, we're working on the zone fitness expansion. We're also working on the new building. There's a new student center coming to Brock University. We're also working on, how we can address the current events that are happening around us right now. Alexa, what's going on in your life as VPEA?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for answering that. And I'll let you know that I'm going to be answering the same thing back to you. So I'll give you a couple minutes to think for those answers for yourself while I'm speaking. But I guess originally, I just kind of want to say it off the bat. I know something that I guess in a sense I've been struggling with, or that has kind of set uneasy to me, is, all of us executives, we came out with these platforms that we are so passionate about, and we really wanted to instill throughout the year. And unfortunately, COVID has become a reality, and a lot of the projects that we had imagined or whatnot have been put on the back burner to provide emergency response to everything going on with COVID. And so I want you to know that a lot of the projects, we're still thinking of them. I know specifically for me, a big project that I was really passionate about is a mental health policy, specifically for athletes here at Brock. And I'm happy to say I actually have a meeting next Tuesday with Dr. Phil Sullivan, and he is a professor in the kinesiology department as well as a varsity athlete coach. And he actually does a lot of research. He's been doing it actually this past week on the connection between varsity athletes and mental health. So I'm really looking forward to that discussion. It is something that I'm very passionate myself about, and I know when speaking to other athletes, that was something that they were really looking forward to as a great initiative. I guess overall, I'm back home living with my parents and my sister, which has actually been really great, and I've really found and learned to appreciate this time with my family. And it's again this. Of course, we're missing our regular life and having that social aspect, but I've actually really found this time to be really good to reflect back on things and keep little journals day to day. And I really find myself every day waking up and being like, I am so thankful and I am so blessed that I am in this position. And I feel so grateful that the student body put their trust in me. And the rest of the executives to represent them. And that is always my main focus, is representing them, doing what I can to represent them, making sure their voices are heard, and getting back to them if they have any questions or anything that are needed. But yeah, that's some big things there as well. I'm constantly working on things with USA. We have our strategic conference actually coming up at the end of the month. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. And I believe, Assad, you should be attending that as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe so. But yeah, I worked a lot on getting the CESB and CERB information out, and just tackling everything that comes, because obviously right now the government is key, and we're looking to the government for advice on how to tackling everything. So it's definitely, I find myself often, it'll be 2 a.m. and I'm still working, but I don't mind it, and I'm actually enjoying it. But yeah, a bit of an update for me. I am enjoying it, and I'm, again, very thankful and feel very blessed to be in the position that I'm in. So yeah, thank you so much, Assad, for checking in. And I just wanted to let everyone know that that is something, we touched on mental health earlier, but as an executive team and with our staff, we do check in with one another. We make sure that everyone is doing well, their physical, mental, spiritual well-being and health, because that's definitely something that is so crucial in life. So thank you, Assad, for allowing me to discuss that a bit further. And I'm actually going to turn the question back over to you. How have you been doing in quarantine? How have you been surviving life at home?
Yeah, so Alexa, it's great to hear all the work you're doing, and absolutely fantastic to see it on a day-to-day basis too. On my end, things are good. It's definitely not the same as being on campus. I miss the campus. I think a lot of students do.
Mm-hmm.
Summer and spring on campus is absolutely gorgeous. It's a great time to be there. I'm at home in Vaughan, which is still pretty great. I'm near my family, which is awesome most of the time. And things are good. We have to hang in here, and we are going to get through this. We're going to get through this together as a community, as a student union, as a team, because there will be another side to COVID-19, and we'll get to those. So we did have one question, and it's an interestingly phrased question. So it talks a bit about the culture of our organization that prohibits Black executives from being elected, and there being very poor Black representation on the council. So, and again, we have our stance on a lot of these matters. So I would be very careful as to how we ask some of these questions, because we don't want to make assumptions or ask leading questions that are simply not true. So we have had Black executives, board members, and council members every single year, dating back to 2014, 2015. 4 years have featured a Black executive since 2014, 2015. And every year since then, it's been comprised of at least 50% minorities. Last year, we had Black students on the board of directors. Last year, we had many Black students on the council as well. So we're happy that we can be proud of our representation at Brock University and our stances on these things. So thank you for those questions, and it's great to be able to address these, because it is important that we address these and understand what is going on in our own backyard, which is something so far that we're pretty proud of.
Absolutely, absolutely.
With that, we are wrapping up. Alexa, do you have any final comments for the people watching live or watching from their homes after this is complete?
So something that I actually found when preparing for this, and it just really stuck with me. And I'm gonna quote this mantra that I found, and again, it resonated with me, and I'm hoping that it can resonate with you as well, and give you that bit of motivation for the day. But it says, one of my favorite mantras is one day at a time. The only day we have is today. For me, worrying about the enormity of the problem only overwhelms and drains me. When this happens, I remind myself to stay focused on the present. What can I do today to help myself? How can I be of service to others? What is the next right step? Tackle the problems that you can today and leave tomorrow's problems until tomorrow. So I found that to be, again, I just saw that and I was like, yeah, I really like that. And I just felt it had a really good message, because, we are in an unprecedented time. We're in a very difficult time, and we recognize that. and things can seem so overwhelming, especially as young adults, and balancing our lives and everything that's going on, and the rapid changes that are going on, and the amount of uncertainty. And so every day just think, okay, it's one day at a time. Think, what can I do for myself, and how can I help to serve others, and making sure you ensure to take those next steps. So that's kind of one last thing I guess I wanted to leave the students with. Asad, do you have anything else to add to that?
I just want to say thank you for all the folks that tuned in, that sent questions this week and on the live. Thank you so much. And like Alexa said, this is a challenging time for a lot of us in a lot of ways. No one really knows the answer to everything right now. And that makes it really tough to kind of navigate through some of the things that we're working through. So we're going to be okay. So everything will be available next week. COVID Conversations will have a live site where you can watch the previous videos and check out live videos as well. And there's also going to be a form to submit questions. So if you have questions, right now, this was the first week, so we were kind of doing them from Instagram and things like that. But we would like if you could use the form, because then we can actually break that down into a frequently asked questions section and have a lot of those answers over there. For example, with CERB and CSB, you'll be able to find all the information broken down for you over there. You'll also get updates from BUSU and big announcements from Brock on brockbusu.ca/COVID, COVID. So brockbusu.ca/COVID. It's also in the link tree in our Instagram bio. So please check that out. And that'll be kind of the hub to go to for all your COVID conversations. So thank you so much for everybody that tuned in. We appreciate your time, and we hope you were able to answer some of your questions. We'll be back next week. And until all our questions are answered, thank you so much and have a great day.